Stephen Carroll. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Catherine.
We're going to start off here in France. Bad news for President Hollande in the elections, and he's got some tough figures to read up on for the economy as well.
Yeah, that's right. No, misery compounding misery, I think, for Francois Hollande today. Three key indicators of the state of the French public finances published today by the country's National Statistics Office. First, the budget deficit was 4.3% in 2013, higher than the government had expected and also much higher than the EU mandated limit of 3%. France has been given extra time to bring its budget deficit down, but these figures won't make easy reading for those in the finance ministry. Of course, a bigger deficit means more debt. The percentage of government debt to GDP rose also in 2013. It's not far above the European average, though, it has to be said, compared to other countries. But then public spending, the real crux of the matter. Public spending at over 57% of GDP, one of the highest in Europe, in fact, and is going to be the real difficulty for the French government. They've pledged to cut 50 billion euros in public spending by 2017. We don't know where those cuts are going to come from yet. It's going to be the most difficult decision Francois Hollande's government's going to have to make in the coming months.
And not very easy to make difficult decisions in the current political climate either. Well, we'll move on to Japan now, where it's a key week there as well for the world's third largest economy.
Yes, since coming to power some 16 months ago, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has implemented a whole rake of economic reforms in various areas. An important one, though, will come into force this Tuesday. Tomorrow, it will be an increase in the country's sales tax. It's currently 5% and it will rise to 8% and as high as 10% by 2015. Now, it's the first rise in the sales tax since 1997 and is seen as a difficult decision to make in the country's currently delicate economic recovery. This as new figures show factory output fell again in January. There are fears that this could be difficult timing for Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's economic policies.
After the tax hike, demand will drop suddenly. A common practice among companies in this kind of situation is to put new products on the market to minimize the effects of the sales drop.
Let's take a look at what's moving the markets this morning and see if there's any reaction to that in Asia. And so far, the Nikkei in Japan actually up about 0.6%. So no major change or no major fears over that looming tax hike. The only major indice in Asia that's in the red is the Shanghai Composite. This after the Chinese premier said that they would consider new stimulus to try and prop up the country's economy if the growth rate there continues to cool down. But a generally positive picture across the Asian markets.
OK, some news from Greece next then. They're looking to get their hands on their latest tranche of bailout funds, and they've passed some reforms in Parliament to do so. Yeah, one of the really key measures to get through these latest reforms for Greece. The country's now received more than 90% of its bailout of almost 240 billion euros, but every reform really resulting in a battle. The latest debate on Sunday night saw heated exchanges, including the leader of the opposition Syriza party accusing the government of selling the country piece by piece. Now, in exchange for the reforms passed, Greece will get 8.3 billion euros worth of aid from its international lenders. Delano de Souza has more.
Another painful vote for Greek lawmakers. After a lengthy debate, the parliament voted in favour of reforms required by the country's international lenders. Passing the bill qualifies Greece for the next round of its funds of around 8.3 billion euros. The vote wasn't easily won.
What you're trying to do is to sell off the country, piece by piece, to domestic and foreign interests in exchange for the support of creditors.
The new legislation will help speed up the privatization of state assets, including the country's two main ports. That's something the Troika has been demanding for years. The law also clears the way for privatizing the country's fourth largest lender, Eurobank. It's all part of the government's plan to get the country back on its feet.
We owe it to ourselves as citizens to work together for shared principles and values, to have fertile and constructive discussions, to plan a better future so that in 10 years from now we'll be one of the most culturally, politically and economically developed countries.
Greece has so far obtained 218 billion euros as part of its bailout, money that's keeping the country afloat. The latest round of funds will help Greece cover 9.3 billion euros of debt that's due in May. After 6 years, the country is expected to emerge from recession in 2014.
OK, and finally then, 2014 has seen some very big business deals done already. But Stephen, there's one sector that's standing out from the rest.
Yeah, technology and media. So far this year, according to data from the research firm Merger Market, there's been $174 billion worth of deals done in the technology and media sectors. The highest it's been, in fact, in 8 years. Now, the big deals that we've seen include the US cable operator Comcast taking over Time Warner Cable for $61.5 billion. Facebook buying WhatsApp, that was another $16 billion. But in all, there were actually 346 deals done in the area worth more than $5 billion. Adding to these fears, there could be a bubble in the tech sector in the United States. We saw that disappointing launch from the maker of Candy Crush last week. Some investor fears around there, but still proving there is money to be made if you're willing to make a bet on what could be a fad.
Goodness me. Thanks very much, Stephen Carroll there, with a roundup of the business news here on Live from Paris. Let's give you some breaking news that's just coming into us now. A court in Israel has found the former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert